I switched to a softer brush. This is actually going to give me the opportunity to blend some of my colors. And so I'm adding a little bit of color to her cheeks to bring out the color, just to make just a little bit of, bring out just a little bit of color. The rest of it's green, but I really wanted to have that little bit of contrast. I also added a little bit of shadow underneath her chin to give it a little bit of a separation from her neck. I'm thinking that I'm going to leave her eyes green, but I'm probably going to come back and define her lids more with a pointed brush after I get through. And I'm also thinking that I want to make her lips a little bit redder. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm thinking also I'd like to maybe put some color in the roses. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually taking the shape that I did with the stencils and I'm bringing some color into the roses. So I'm painting inside the rose shape and just a little bit of color because I don't want it to be overly done. I still want it to be very subtle and I want it not to like stick out. And I'm also using, I'm not using acrylic paint, which gives it a more of a transparent look, because I didn't want it to be done with acrylics. I did use some acrylics, but mainly what I want to do is I want to give it more of a transparency. So that's what I'm doing with with this type of paint. This type of paint, actually, this is watercolor, but it's an interesting watercolor in that it's brighter than most watercolors. So a lot of watercolor is really like washed out. But this comes in a bottle, and actually it's children's watercolor. It's called Country School, and I got it from a company that I work with. But sometimes I just use I just use my students' paint to do some of my paintings, just for fun, because I try them out to see how they work, and if I like the effect, then I keep using it. But depends on what I'm painting, of course. But for this, I'm just experimenting, so I can use cheaper paint. And sometimes I use cheaper paint just to do the initial painting, and then I change to something that's a little more expensive and better when I work on canvas. But because I'm working on this, that's fine. So right now I'm just kind of playing around with creating the rose shapes in the background. I don't think I'm going to cut her out, as initially I was going to cut the face out, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to leave it this way and somehow reduce it down to the size that I want. I'm not sure how that's going to work when I put it in the, when I heat it, but we'll see. When I heat it, it's probably, I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest with you. I don't know, it's probably could be ruined, but that's okay because this is experimenting. This is just experimenting. So if it's something that doesn't work out, that's fine, because I do have the picture, which I will use for future artwork. I can even, print this up and put this on a pin and use it as the actual image. So I'm not really worried at this time, what's going to happen. I just really want to see what does happen. So, and that's the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define